What are the New York Giants doing, BT, as far as their quarterback situation goes? Jameis Winston. And as if that wasn't bad enough, there's still a possibility that it could be Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. If the Giants don't end up with Cam Ward, it will be the biggest bust that we have seen from a franchise that continues to trip over themselves for the better part of a decade.
I don't think they're getting Cam, Sal. I don't. I really don't. Listen, I get it. It looks weird. It smells weird. Kind of tastes a little weird. Like, what are we doing here, Giants? But this year, this draft's always going to be defined by who they get in the draft. And while I don't think they'll get Cam Ward, I don't see them moving up to one. I feel like that ship is kind of sailing. You know, you have to have somebody, and you need an experienced quarterback on the roster. And you know, you sit around and you wait for Aaron Rodgers, and you run the risk of Rodgers, you know, just saying, I'm good, or I'm doing something else, and then you miss out on him. Same with Russell Wilson. You had to get somebody on the roster other than Tommy DeVito. So I know it seems a bit odd, but until we see what they do in the draft, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, that you can't help but think over the weekend. So you see Jameis Winston on Friday, whatever it was when we get off the air, and I'm thinking, okay, well, at least now we know the backup. Like Rodgers, forget about Russell Wilson. Now it's going to be Jameis for the starter for the short term and for the young quarterback. And then it's, well, not so much. No, they're not out on Russell Wilson. And if they get Russell Wilson, obviously that would take them out. I'm getting the gut feel now. And again, I'm not reporting anything. I have no idea. I just use common sense here and try to follow the trail along some of these reports and see what I believe in or not. And I did believe that the Giants were going to go after Cam Ward after they missed out on Matthew Stafford. But if you use the common sense, BT, that we've talked about this before, the idea that they were so heavily in on Matthew Stafford and then on Rodgers, that would indicate that they don't love a quarterback. And now with Jameis and the idea that it might still be Jameis and one of the veterans, whether it be Rodgers or Wilson, that would to me indicate that at the third pick, they're taking the best player available, not a quarterback, and you're likely looking at a scenario where the Giants are going to go into next year without a future franchise quarterback yet again.
All right, so I hear you. I think that, and I know that it's out there that they could still get Russell Wilson. We were talking about this a little bit before the show. That would still surprise me. Like, if it's Jameis Winston and Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, or Jameis and Russell Wilson, that just seems straight up goofy. I think this is what it's telling me. They're going to walk away with a quarterback in the draft somewhere, I think, in the top 3 rounds. It's going to be probably a bit more of a project or a little more raw than anybody would really like, which is why they want to make sure that they've got somebody who could at least throw the football. And I'll tell you, yeah, I know Jameis, Jameis's highlight reel, Hall of Fame. Jameis's low light reel, absolute stiff bust. I get it. There's not a lot of middle ground for him. But if we saw in 2022, we watched Brian Dable, even if it was a one-year Band-Aid, Sal, coach up Daniel Jones and just squeeze the mistakes out of him and stop doing stupid stuff. Now, Jameis can't run like Jones, so it's a different kind of coaching philosophy. You don't think there's a chance he can kind of smooth them out and coach out the mistakes? I do.
I do not think Jameis Winston was signed to be the starting quarterback for the full season. If he is, that is just a colossal mistake on every level. So if I'm doing that math saying, okay, well, they're not that foolish. They're not going to sign Jameis to be their full season starter. It either means that they're bringing in somebody better as a veteran, like Rodgers or Russell Wilson, or Jameis is going to be the starter for now. Remember, DeVito's already on the roster as a backup, so there's really one spot to play with here. I mean, they're not going to have 4 quarterbacks, are they? You wouldn't think.
Well, you could honestly say cut DeVito.
They just brought him back. Why would, if they weren't sure that they wanted them to be the third stringer or a backup? I mean, I guess that they could, but just doing the math here, BT, I can't. I mean, I would be stunned if the Giants were that stupid to have Jameis Winston be the starting quarterback for the entirety of this upcoming season. I would think that it's either for now in transition or he is a backup to the other veteran that they would go out there and sign.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm with you for the most part. Like, I do believe that they see him as a stopgap, as a cheap option. And by the way, what they paid him, 2 years, $8 million, that is absolute, no doubt about it, backup money. So, the money tells us all we need to know. They are not, listen, I know Giant fans are all over the map emotionally. Settle down, everybody.
I don't know if we have BT there. We might have lost some bad connection. Either way, yeah, Giant fans were going nuts about this on Friday from one perspective, and that Jameis cannot be the starting quarterback for the entire year. And I think that that's where I am in agreement with them. Now, if they're okay with Jameis being the starter for now with another quarterback, yes, meaning a younger quarterback. But if Jameis is here just to be the backup, and again, I have no idea. We're going to find out how this thing plays itself out. Whether it's Rodgers meeting, with the Steelers, maybe he comes to me with the Giants. We'll find out what happens with Aaron Rodgers. But maybe the Giants are looking at, okay, just get Jameis at a good value because they didn't overpay for him. So just have Jameis at a good value to be a backup quarterback, or if they do draft somebody, have him be the veteran starter for now. Cam Ward's pro days today. Giants going to be down there checking him out. What does that mean? I have no idea. I mean, I still am holding out hope that the Giants could go out there and trade for Cam Ward. And really, the other guys don't do it justice. I wouldn't want Shedeur Sanders. BT and I have talked about that many times. Jackson Dart is fine, but if you're going to have Jackson Dart, wouldn't you rather have Russell Wilson being your starting quarterback for now? Which is what makes me think, and especially when Russell Wilson was still on the table, this is not instead. Jameis Winston was not instead of Russell Wilson. It might be in addition to. I mean, those are the reports. You would initially think that that's going to take them out of the mix for Russell Wilson. But if they're not, that means they signed Jameis to be the backup to somebody that they think could be better. And then in the worst case scenario, if that guy is, and maybe have a competition between Russell Wilson and Jameis, maybe it's similar to what the Steelers did a year ago with Fields and Russell Wilson himself. Maybe we could see that. But I said it last year, and I'm going to say it again. And really, it doesn't even matter at this point because the damage is already done based off of last year. When they did not take a starting quarterback a year ago, a future franchise quarterback a year ago in the draft, that to me was the beginning of the end for this regime with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll. And they missed many opportunities. There were certain guys that I would have wanted. Now, look, they like Jaden Daniels. Yeah, well, who didn't? They like Drake May. Yeah, who didn't? But there were other opportunities, BT, they had that they passed up on. And now it feels like they might be punting yet again. And it'll be the second straight year that the Giants might end up without a franchise quarterback from the draft.
They are as baffling a franchise right now that exists in pro sports. They really are. I mean, everything that they've done doesn't make a whole lot of sense. From the timeline, Sal, that they put their general manager and their head coach on, to what they did with Daniel Jones, to what they did with Saquon Barkley. They should have reversed that. And this is ancient history, clearly, but this is a 2 or 3 year gaffe-laden run by this organization. John Mara, applying pressure maybe where he shouldn't have, back with Jones and some other spots. So when you make that many mistakes, as they have, there's not one, there's not one like, all right, let me hit the button, here's the parachute, and I can save myself. You've got to grind your way out of it. And at least by getting a guy in the building who's thrown some touchdowns, who seems to be well liked by his teammates, now at least you have a starting point of operating freely, which is what I said before. But now you got to do it. You got to find somebody. You got to trust your instincts in the draft, and you cannot be wrong. Can't be wrong.
Think about it, BT. What are the other options now? Right, the Giants have shown, and maybe it's some reporting, like they haven't told us directly what they want to do, but if you just put the pieces together here and follow the bouncing ball, they clearly were going after the best veteran quarterback available, the most proven, known commodity. No questions about it, what Matthew Stafford would be if he were a New York Giant. So that was their number one choice. That is off the board. Then it's like, okay, well, now what? And it seems, based on the reports, that their pursuit of Aaron Rodgers was heavier than their pursuit of the number one pick, if that were even a thing. The reports about Rodgers are real, and the Giants being involved in him and holding out hope for him. So that would show you the second best quarterback, at least in my opinion, on the market, or second most proven quarterback in everybody's opinion on the market. How Rodgers will be at this point in his career, at the age, whatever, that's still TBD. But so those would indicate that maybe they're not too keen on one of the young quarterbacks. But now with Jameis Winston, even bringing him for value here, I just don't. The next piece is going to be crucial here. It can't be Jameis and Russell Wilson. And let's just say it is, because I feel like now it might be the most likely thing. Then what? If they don't end up with a future franchise quarterback, what are we doing this season? Trying to win 8-9 games? I mean, is that the goal?
Well, it shouldn't be. But, the first thing you got to do is get on even footing. I mean, winning 3 or 4 games is just utterly unacceptable. So 8 or 9, 9 wins would be throw a parade at this point for this franchise. But even if you could just get to a competent level, we all want to push this thing forward, and eventually they do as well and get to, a championship place. There's no shortcuts. I mean, there's a reason why the Knicks were garbage for 20 years, and the Mets have had multiple runs of elongated futility. Same with St. John's, who we'll get to later. Like, to get competent and great, you've got to at least get to the, competency avenue. And I think by just getting somebody in the building, you give yourself a chance to do that. Now, listen, this whole thing, as much as we've sat here and said for months, maybe they trade up and get Cam Ward. And you and I like Cam better than Sanders. You and I both like him better than Sanders. But even he is far from perfect. The Giants are in the very unenviable position of needing a quarterback and needing to radically change the way they're perceived and how they work from the inside out. And no obvious choices atop the draft. So whatever they do, it's going to have to be creative. And they're going to have to read this quarterback room, which is maybe a C+ or a B-. And they're going to have to squeeze some blood out of this thing. And I don't, good luck. Yeah, it's not a very easy situation.
And I like Jameis's personality, but on the football field, he's not very good. He has proven he can't be a regular starter in this league. He can be exciting at times, but obviously when you throw as many interceptions as he does, he can be just as bad at times. He's not going to help you win a ton of football games. Will they get better? Is Jameis Winston definitively better than Daniel Jones?
Here's what I'll say, Sal. Throwing the football, he'll make more mistakes too. I guess I can't say definitive. Right. If I'm struggling that long, probably not definitively, no. Right.
And if I had to ask you which one you would want to try to win more games now, which one would you take?
Honestly, I would take Jameis Winston, because one thing that the Giants have is zero juice. They've got no identity. And, even if he's gone in a year or after the 2-year contract that he signed, Jameis, there's something to be said for an infectious personality. And one of the things that was just brutal about Daniel Jones was his vanilla, very benign presentation. I can promise you that, a locker room full of young athletes, Jameis going to bring it, and Jameis going to elevate. He's going to make it certainly more interesting, both good and bad. But I think if you're trying to escape the doldrums of mediocrity and just drowning, I think I'd rather have Jameis try to pull me out of it than Daniel Jones.
I feel like I trust Daniel Jones to win more games, and Dable has already proven that at least the first year. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, I don't love Daniel Jones by now, but Jameis to me was brought on to be a backup. So now the question is, who's the starter for this year? Is Jameis going to start until they transition to the young kid, week 6, 7, 8, whenever that may be, 10, 11, or is it going to be as a backup to Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers? And either way, right now, it doesn't look pretty for the Giants. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Charles is in Allenhurst, New Jersey. What's up, Charles?
What's up, guys? When I saw this news on Friday, I wasn't too thrilled by it, but I got to tell you, I wasn't surprised. And this shows to me they better have identified someone in that draft that they can get, because it doesn't look like they're going to get Cam Ward. Tennessee might not have the appetite to trade the number one. It looks like they're going to take him now. So they better have found someone in that draft that they think can elevate the franchise. And let me say one more thing. With Jameis Winston, I can't take it anymore. All the people out there saying, oh, he's entertaining to watch play football. He's fun to watch. He's fun to watch when he's not on your team. And he's throwing the ball all over the place, throwing interceptions, chucking the ball down the field with no care in the world.
Would you rather watch DeVito? Would you rather watch DeVito?
It's not. I want to watch the team win, and I want to watch them develop a rookie quarterback.
I get that. You will.
People say, yeah,
you will.
I can't, yeah, hopefully, if they don't, these guys better.
When, BT? That's the question, and thank you for the call, Charles. That's my feel. When? The idea that Russell Wilson would still be in play, doesn't that show you that they may not be thinking about drafting a quarterback?
No. That doesn't show me that. No, I don't believe until it happens. I refuse to really, truly believe that both men will be, including Rodgers. I guess the door is slightly open. I don't think that that's going to happen. And I think, by the way, any way that you cut it, because, even with the Cam questions and certainly with the Shedeur Sanders and Jackson Dart and anybody else, Jalen Milroe, whomever you want to throw in there, I think once you get past Cam, and again, there's questions with him, but there's more and more and more questions. So why not? Why not get somebody who is at least a little proven? Like, there's no way you could have got into this year with Sanders and DeVito. And if you didn't at least sign, or Dart and DeVito, if you didn't at least sign Jameis the other day, hey, Rodgers might retire. Rodgers might go somewhere else. Wilson might go back to Pittsburgh. What do you do?
Yeah, well, Jameis can't be the answer, though. So that's why.
But he's not looked at the answer, Sal.
Oh, we don't know yet. I mean,
no, we do by the amount of money they paid him.
Yeah, okay.
We absolutely know.
Fair enough. You think Jameis Winston is going to start games this year or no?
I think he's probably going to start week 1.
Yeah, but that's a problem. Jameis Winston stinks. He stinks. So now, if you're telling me that Jameis is going to start week 1, but hand it over to Cam Ward in week 6 or 7 or 8, whenever that may be, that's a different story, because then it doesn't matter, as I've been saying all along, it doesn't matter who the starting quarterback is. It's about who's the next quarterback. If it's Aaron Rodgers, then we're making all this fuss about a backup quarterback, and even that, to me, is not a good quarterback room or quarterback situation moving forward with Rodgers and Jameis. Is Jameis the backup? Is he going to be the start of week 1? That is TBD, but who's the guy? DeVito's back. Now Jameis is here. We still don't have an answer on who the quarterback is for the New York Giants.
Listen, the names, we've thrown the names out there. I can promise you, and I said this to you the other day, they've made enough mistakes. I would have brought them back. Okay, they're back. If they go through the first 2 or 3 rounds of the draft without, either moving up and getting a quarterback, and I don't mean necessarily from 3 to 1 or 3 to 2. I'm talking about, maybe trading back from or second round, moving up and getting something. Like, if they don't do that, which they will, there's no doubt that they will. But if they don't, just get in your cars and go home. You shouldn't be allowed back in the building. It would be grossly negligent and unacceptably irresponsible. That's not going to happen.